Hello guys. Dr. Sammy here with Eastwood Animal Clinic. Thanks for all your support on the different social media platforms and things. So thank you guys. Today we're going to play a little bit. We're just going to kind of dink around. We're going to do a little show and tell with kind of plating a little bit. So I'll show you some stuff I have. This is not everything. We have a lot of different things depending on the surgery, but we're mainly going to focus on locking plates today. So when are we plating things? Usually when something is broken. So this is a normal femur. Here's the head of the femur, the actual femur, and here's a broken femur. These are some of the ones that we use from different wet labs from continuing education and let us keep the things. This one's called a convoluted fracture. Essentially, we got to kind of put a plate on there to straighten that out, and you can kind of see on some of them, we have little holes where we've drilled and practiced and different things like that. And that was kind of a femur. Here's one of the other really common fractures, which is going to be a radius and ulna. And not sure if y'all can see that real well, but there's that. They can maybe zoom in here a little bit, just post the picture. But that's a really common fracture. We actually did a couple of these here in the last couple of days, and some other really interesting ones involving growth plates and limb realignments and things like that. So fun stuff. So ultimately, when we're doing plating, we're usually dealing with a fracture somewhere in the body. Every doctor has a different comfort level, whether they'll do humeruses or radius ulnas, femurs, tibias, ankles, smaller bones in the toes and the feet, pelvises. There's all kinds of broken bones. They're all over the place. So depending on where we're working, we use different style plates, different types of plates. As technology, like anything else, has grown, so have the technology with the actual screws and the plates themselves. So I just wanted to walk you through some of kind of what I like to use a lot of, but a lot of options. First, we'll kind of start with the drill. I use a striker drill. There's a lot of variations. Here's our box that it's usually in, and then we'll have them wrapped up. Here's a sterile gown that we'll put on. I'll usually wear a cap and a mask and then ortho gloves, different things like that, as well as the staff. They'll have these tools, instruments, the boxes autoclaved, wrapped up. We'll open them sterilely, do our thing. This is the drill I have. I have a nice little dual trigger on it, so I can go forward and backwards or even oscillate, so I can go like that instead of just spinning in one motion. Different advantages. Lots of different types of batteries. The one I have a separate sterile case for the actual battery, and plugs in like that, and we can actually open that part, drop our battery in, and then we close it, lock it, and I have a dead battery. So that didn't go too well with that part. Lots of different instruments for the attachments on the drills. This is probably a pretty common one for most things. Basically, it's a pin driver. We use it to drive a lot of the pins to hold things or do what are called plate rod combos, aka we put a pin and pair it with a plate, makes it really, really strong. So I do a lot of those. I like them. I enjoy them. The main type of plates that I like to use as much as I can, and I'm just personally phasing out of the old style plates. They're called DCP plates, and there's a lot of different versions of it. But I kind of go with the locking plates a lot now. And the difference between a locking plate and the other plate is on the actual plate, the holes, I have two holes. I have a threaded hole, and then I have a hole that is not threaded. So what those threads do with the plate is they make it dramatically stronger, less likely that screws will loosen, less likely to break, less likely that the plate will shift and move. It makes the construct dramatically stronger. And you have ultimately what that translates into for clients and patients is less complications. They're getting real fancy now with some new coatings, and they'll have zinc plated coatings or different things, and they're supposed to inhibit bacterial growth and kind of reduce the chance of secondary infections or implant infections and stuff of that nature. So we'll have them zoom in and get a picture of this, and then I'll show you guys the screws. There's, I think we have two here. So My locking system, there's blue. My other system is not. It's kind of just the silver plated. Like I said, I'll have them zoom in, but what you want to look at is at the top of this head, it's threaded. That way when we screw it into the plate, it sits in there and it gets real flush with the plate and it actually locks in there. So I can thump this, I can mess with it, I can flip it upside down, it doesn't come out. And this part goes through the bone. So, oh yeah, some variation of that, okay. Here's the difference just for visual purposes. That blue one is the locking one, here's the silver one. That's the hole that it goes in. They're both fairly flush, but that one I can dump out, it can wiggle, a lot more flexibility, advantages and disadvantages. With the locking, since I have the threads have to match up, so I can only put them in one direction based on how we bend the plate and things. These cortical screws, we can actually angle them for certain angles to avoid fractures or try and catch other fragmented pieces and things like that. So all of them have their role and have their place, and there's advantages and disadvantages to everything just in general, but definitely in the orthopedic realm as well. Just a couple of the other tools that we'll use when we're doing plating. Depending on the system we're doing, we'll use a drill guide. It's a little different version that you just hold and sit over it so that when you're actually drilling, you don't burn the tissues or catch them or macerate them or whatever. With the locking system, since that's mainly what we're talking about today, we essentially have a locking drill guide as well. It screws in. That kind of forces our drill hole to be as straight as the hole is. That way we don't have any misalignments with the threads and things of that nature. So that screws in. We'll take our drill and have our attachment. Usually we'll have a drill bit on, drill it through the bone, and then take it out, move to the next one, and keep going. The other thing that we'll do once we actually have that bone drilled, grab a piece that's broken. So we'll make our little drill holes, and this is called a depth gauge. What we'll do is then we'll measure how long the screw needs to be. Not all dogs are same sizes, not all bones are same sizes, and depending on where we're working in a fracture, there's different size bone. Kind of like the femur. This part is much thicker than this part. And as we go down this, thinner, 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 and it's starting to get thicker, thicker the deeper we go in this case. So therefore, we gotta have different length screws to go through different length bone. And what we'll do with the depth gauge, we'll drill our hole, we will stick it through the hole, and we're trying to catch it on that back side. There's a little hook on this thing, and then we push it down and it gives us a nice little pretty number over here. And then we extrapolate from that number what size screw we want to use in conjunction with the plates and cinch everything down, and off we go. Then we cross our fingers, say a little prayer, and hope everything goes well. Because orthopedics, sometimes they will look great and beautiful and the surgery's amazing and it'll blow up in your face. Other times you're like, yeah, I wish I would have done better, and they do wonderful. So everybody's different, everybody has a different opinion. Even on the ones that I really like and feel great about, I'm just always a little cautious with it personally, just because I've heard stories from other people and just different experiences and things. But once you get a couple months out, usually then you know if you made it or broke it. So hope that was informative for you guys, but something a little different than just talking about cases and patients and problems. You know, thought you'd enjoy a little show and tell and something a little different. So hope that was fun, guys. We'll see you later. Be safe. Bye.